Hello, you guys. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much. So, you guys both have a lot of experience in storytelling with different forms. But did I read in your director's statement that this was your very first film and you guys got to work together on it?
Yeah, it's our
Yep.
first narrative feature. I've done a lot of editing of documentaries, but our first time collaborating as directors as well.
Yeah.
What was that experience like given your family ties?
I think it's pretty natural. Just having grown up together and personalities are similar. So there's a really easy shorthand with everything. And I don't know, we didn't really think about it too much.
It's like mind reading. Yeah, we have a very similar taste, so that makes it easy. It's not easy to collaborate with, I think, people who have. I don't know, something about it was really simple. I don't think we got into a lot of creative arguments or anything like that. It's natural. It feels like two parts of the same brain. Or
Hive
something.
mind.
Yeah, hive mind.
That's extremely exciting. And it really shows in your film. I was really struck by the story and the visual aspect. It was beautiful. What struck you guys to tell a story about politics and scandal and the act of forgiveness?
I think it's strange that I think we wrote it during the election in 2016, during the campaigns, and we combined a couple of ideas. It was weird. I feel like it was just in the zeitgeist. It was kind of right before Me Too movements began, and it must have just been in the air. And we just I think we kind of just pulled it out of thin air to a certain extent. We were influenced by the I think the run up to the 2016 election, but a lot of it was just a mashup of multiple ideas we had. I don't know. I think we're always interested in sort of philosophical concepts and exploring philosophical ideas and notions of truth and different versions of people's different truths or whatever. And there was something about, I think, exploring the mindset of a public figure who had essentially exiled himself for a scandal and trying to understand what the experience of that person would be after the scandal. I don't know, because yeah, it just sort of came out of thin air, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was timely. Obviously, it's since we wrote it, it's become timely in a lot of ways. But at the time, we were really just it was mostly about the character. You know, we weren't thinking about
the politics
or the current events too much, really. Yeah, I'd say it's just sort of worked out that way.
It's interesting that you say that because when I was watching it, it felt very Shakespearean to me in tone. So, what were your influences for the film? Did you take from that?
I think we love dialogue, we love writing characters, and so in that sense, I think we were definitely influenced by great dialogue writers, and it does have sort of I guess dramatic stage, almost like a stage dramatic dialogue aspect to it, which is just, I think a lot of the filmmakers we like too are similar to Shakespeare maybe, but I wouldn't say Shakespeare himself was a main inspiration, but I love Shakespeare.
Yeah, sure.
And I love language. I think we both just love playing with language, so I can see the connection.
Yeah,
you brought up an interesting point before when you were speaking about how this was just a story that you came up with, and then all of a sudden it became really relevant as things were becoming more and more relevant in real life. Were you looking back at your script and being like, whoa?
It was bizarre, actually.
There's a lot of that for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And over time we added to it a little bit because we kind of made the film over the course of 2 or 3 years. We started filming in 2018. We wrote it in 2016, started filming in 2018 once we got financing, and then we kind of made additions piecemeal because it started out as a short actually, and then we kind of expanded it because we realized it wasn't a short. Basically, it was too long.
There's definitely a lot of story to tell there, and it really makes you dig in and think about self-forgiveness, which I think a lot of people really struggle with. So what do you hope that viewers can learn about moving on from your past mistakes by watching A Pity?
I think just the fact that, I mean, that, like you said, making mistakes and dealing with that is like an essential human experience, regardless of, you know, who you are or whether it's high profile or not. Like, everybody's a human being that's going through at times a certain amount of, you know, mental anguish or whatever. Not, that doesn't justify anything by any means. We're not really interested in that necessarily, but yeah, I mean, it's sort of a universal experience to deal with guilt and to manage guilt and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's something about separation as well. I think this idea of isolation that you can't, I don't know that you fully can be forgiven or forgive yourself in isolation. And there's something about the isolated nature of all the characters, I think, in this movie, that I think we're commenting on that you can't basically exist in a vacuum. You know, you can't exist by yourself, and you don't exist by yourself. And that, I think, isolating oneself actually might keep you from forgiveness,
or isolating others too. It's just not a conducive, you know, path forward for anybody, really.
Yeah.
And, you know, the characters, yeah, like you said, they're all sort of isolated. They're all kind of talking, the structure of it, the sort of monologue-esque, there's sort of almost like a series of monologues in it. They're kind of talking past each other to a large extent. There's not a lot of conversation happening.
Yeah.
Which is the way you kind of process conflict, really. Communication.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, you guys. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on your film. It's really, really good. It's also really, really thought-provoking, because in weird ways, it's relatable in senses that you wouldn't even imagine. Like isolation, for example, and the whole pandemic that we went through, you can kind of strangely relate the two things together.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Awesome. Thank you guys
you
so
liked
much,
it.
and I'll see you in Santa Fe.
Cool, great.
See you there.
Thank you, Madison.
All right. Thank you guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.